Good morning, everyone. We are going to talk about how to make a scatter plot for some of your data. So you can see if you saw the original video talking about the how to find average and standard deviation. I do still have that same data here that is real data from test scores from you all in class. And then I made up some data down here for study time as kind of an estimate. And I really tried to make these arbitrary on what they could possibly be. I still gave the standard deviation, but we're not necessarily going to use it on the graph right now. So when we look at this, really what we're looking here is we're looking for a relationship between whether the test score is related to the amount of time studying. And that's really when I'm going to want to use a scatter plot. So just like before, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to choose my charts and you're going to choose the scatter plot one. It's going to be the last one kind of over here. You just want to use a simple dots. We don't really need to make connections with lines or anything else right now. And you're going to select that chart. And what you're going to end up with is just a blank chart area because we didn't select any data. So I'm going to right click. So not left click, but right click. And I'm going to hit select data. So over here, I'm going to add my data first. I'm going to start by selecting my data. I'm going to start with my average test score by student. And then I will choose my X values. So I'm just going to highlight those just like I did in the past. And then for my Y values, I'll have to delete that equals 1. And I'm going to change it to the study time, which should just partner up exactly with the numbers they already had. So student 23, they're going to take their average test score, and then they'll take their average time studying. And all I have to do is hit OK. You'll see here that average test score by student is in my legend for my x-axis. So it's down here on the bottom. And then my y-axis is the amount of study time. Usually we try to put our independent variable on the x-axis and our dependent variable on the y-axis. I'm just going to hit OK. And just like we had yesterday, we've got this nice chart already set up. Just like I told you all yesterday, you're going to want to go into that quick layout up here in the corner, and you're going to want to pick a chart area that has some of these different values and different lines to it. So there's one here that works. You can also go up here. There's just some different options for you. I am going to try and find a good one. I'm going to go with this one because it's got all the things. So it's layout number 1 for this one. You will also, I will show you at the end something else, but you want to change your axis titles, right? So this is average study time, and that was done in minutes. The data I collected, as well as the average test score by student, and it's out of 7. So we have that data. My title is a little lackluster. So we're going to work on changing that. This is average test score by student compared to student study time for exams in IB Biology 2, 2022 through 2023. Oops. So I'm going to have that there. This makes my chart really small, so I'm just going to stretch it out, make it a little bit easier to see, hopefully. And you can always go in and change some of this information. So we've got all these dots spread out, which is great. But just like we did with our bar graph, we want to be able to add some sort of trend line or other thing that gives us more information. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go to this addition sign for chart elements. And I'm going to go to trend line. And so I'm going to continue to use that little arrow out to the side and go to more options. Your data is going to be linear for more than likely it's going to be linear. So we'll just choose this linear trend line option. And from there, the other thing we want to look at is these last 2 components down on the bottom. And you've probably already done this in math class, but you can click display equation on chart and display the R² value on the chart. And I can actually move these so they're easier to see. And that's really what we're looking for here. When we look at this R² value, we're thinking about the fact that an R² value of 1 means that there is perfect positive correlation. An R² value of -1 means that there is perfect negative correlation. So when one goes up, the other one goes down by the same amount. As we get closer to 0, we really start to see that there's no correlation between the information. So that's just kind of a statistical test we can look at. I'm going to briefly get rid of my trend line. So I'm just going to delete it, and it'll delete all of that information if I ever want to do that. And I believe one of the quick layout options over here, layout number 9, actually already does all of this potentially for you. So it will already put in the different chart elements and do this R-squared value for you. So you can choose option number 9 to just do all of that work for you instead of having to go in the opposite way and do that. And just like before, there are different chart options. You can make this look however you would like it to look. Simpler is often better, but you do have options here if you would like to explore or investigate any of them. If you have any questions or concerns, you know where to find me.